How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are doing wonderful tonight. Hello, Jersey. So that 5x5 you put in there, I guess that means everything's A-okay. Hello, Crit. So, what? These strings that I put on here, I don't remember which ones they were. They weren't the Diodarios that I normally use. I don't know, but they're already kind of dead and don't stay in tune. I don't remember what they're. I'll have to go back and look on that video. But anyway, to welcome everybody out tonight, just like it says, we're going to be doing some Alice in Chains. So this is by request. There's been several of you guys that have commented on both the live streams and just the regular YouTube videos that you wanted some Alice in Chains. So that's what we're going to do. Hello, Paul. Hello, Bill. Welcome. And as usual, there are tabs. There's a link in the description where you can download the tabs. And we're actually doing a lot more. I mean, they're just riffs, but we're doing. It was like six different songs, I think. I forgot to shut my phone up. Yeah, so be sure to get on the. Hello, Dan. Paul, welcome. Oh, I already saw you earlier. Man, see, I can't remember. That's how shitty my memory is. But yeah, so download the tab so you can follow along and we can get started. So if you like this content, be sure to hit the like button, all that stuff. The thumbs up button, all that stuff really helps with me keeping employment. So I appreciate it. Let's see here. All right, so the first one that we're going to look at is, well, actually, before we do that, the first couple of them we're looking at are actually in drop D. So for those of you who don't know what I mean by that, it just simply means we're going to tune our E string, our low E string, down to a D. So you can do it with a tuner, or you can simply just match it with the with your D string. Yeah, so you're going to want to be in drop D for this, for these first couple of them. All right. So any of you here tonight happen to be any of the ones that requested Alice in Chains? Oh, Crit, you did? Yeah, I don't remember. I'm so crappy at remembering the names, but I just know that it was a handful of people that did. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the riff from "We Die Young." So you got to be in drop D for this. So let's see here. I just don't want it to be too overdriven and stuff. So since this is in drop D, and for those of you that have never done anything with drop D, basically what happens is that now the interval between Usually the interval between the strings is a fourth. So like this is an E and this is an A. So if you just count up E, F, G, A, it's a fourth. But now that we've got this tuned down a whole step, that puts another step in there. So it's a fifth. So when like the power chord shape that you do, now you can just do that by playing on the same fret. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of they use it, the drop tuning. So for this, we're going to start off, we're on the second fret. So we're just going to be barring just our low E string and our A string for this whole riff. So we're going to play both of them together on the second fret. And this is, these are eighth notes. So this is 1, and then starting on the end of 1, just the open low E string. So 1 and 2, and then we're going to come up to the 5th fret, and we're going to bar the same way we did at the 2nd fret, just across just the low E and the A string. And this one, if you're looking at the transcription, you can see that we're hitting this on the and of 2, but it's tied to the downbeat of 3. So, and it's a half step bend. So what we're going to do, we're going to pit this and bend it. So we're on and 3. So we resolve, or not resolve. We come out of the we come out of the bend on the downbeat of 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or whoops. All right, so we hit this on the downbeat of 4, and then on the end of 4, it's another open string. So that's the first measure. Now, starting on the second measure, we start on the downbeat of 1 with that open low E string, and we're going to go 1, and then on the end of 1, 3rd fret again. So 1 and then for beat 2 and the end of 2, open strings. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then on the downbeat of 4, we're going to hit 3, and then we're going to do a hammer onto the 5th fret with our 3rd finger for 4 and. So the first 2 measures. All right, now starting on the 3rd measure, it's the same as the 1st measure. And then the 4th measure is similar to the 2nd measure. It starts off the same way. We're going to 1 and 2, but then on the and of 2, we're going to come up to the 5th fret again. And then on the downbeat of 3, we're going to do that same bend. But so if you notice that beat 3 is tied. So because we're going to bend 3 and 4 and then it just repeats. So that 4th measure. So the whole thing. Oh, whoops. And then it just, like I said, it just keeps repeating. So yeah, so that's the riff for We Die Young. Most of these are, going to be about the same skill level, I guess, except on this one we just did that bend. If you're having problems doing that bend, you're not alone. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that and not make it and not have it sound really weird, have it be like the right interval so it doesn't sound all dissonant or whatever. So yeah, so does anybody have any questions about that, or about anything with the drop D tuning? I guess I should have asked it. Everybody good with that? Everybody got that? Were they able to get into drop D? I guess I should have asked that before we just jumped right into it, but that's just how I roll. Yeah, if you've got like a clip-on tuner, then it's pretty simple. You know, I've got one, you saw me using it a minute ago, but it's like sometimes I don't know, I'm pig-headed and just want to try to do it without it, and it's just it's just easy, it's convenient. All right, so the next one then, if everyone's cool, we can move along. The next one is "Damn That River." Now this riff is similar as far as it's in drop D, and it's going to be that same, where you're just playing the same fret on the pair of, your low E and your A string. Uh, but it doesn't have any of the bending or anything in it, so it's a lot easier to play than the first one, because you don't have that bend. But the timing on this one's a little bit, well, it's just a little different than maybe what you're used to. So this one we're gonna start off on the third fret, and we're gonna go 3, 4, 5. So it's actually chromatic, and this first part is eighth notes. So we're 1 and 2, and then on the end of 2, we hit the strings open. And if you'll see on your transcription that's a quarter note. So we're hitting that on the and of 2. So it's and 3, and then on the and of 3, we're going to come up to the 5th fret, and then the downbeat of 4 is the 6th fret, and the and of 4 is the 7th fret. So that's our first measure. Now, on the second measure, it just goes, we just did 5, 6, 7, or 5, 6, 7, and now we're going to go 6, 5, 3, open. 3, 4, 5, open. So it's just going to kind of go back and forth. There's 2 chromatic passages in there. I think this is just a really cool riff, though. So we're basically 3, 4, 5, open. 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 3, open. 3, 4, 5, open. 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 3. Now, when we hit that last 3 there on the third measure, that's on the downbeat of 4, and then on the and of 4, we rest. So it's important that you put that rest in there. It's part of what just makes the riff really cool. But if you don't do that, if you don't put the rest in there, then you're going to be starting, a half of a beat too soon when you start over again. That's something I've just kind of noticed just with my own students and stuff, that anybody that is like went and learned how to do tabs on their own and stuff, they're so focused on the tab numbers and not looking at the notation, so they miss things like rest, and you have to kind of look at both. Oh, awesome, Crit. Yeah, it's not too terribly tough, but it's really neat. I really like Jerry Cantrell. Alice in Chains is, out of that whole 90s grunge era thing, they're by far, in my opinion, by far the best band that ever came out of all that. Wish Lane was still here, but even with the new dude, they still put out pretty awesome stuff. Yeah, so whoops, brain fart there and forgot how to play the last part of it. Yeah, so that's Damn That River. That one's, like I said, much, much easier than We Die Young, but Still a really cool riff, methinks. All right, so if anybody has any questions about that, I kind of doubt anybody does, but if you do, let's hear it. And as usual, this is just also, just a regular, regular night like any other night. So ask me whatever, whatever guitar questions. Doesn't have to be about this or Alice in Chains or anything. Okay, so this next one isn't in drop D, but the part we're playing doesn't matter anyway because we're not even playing the low E string. But the next one after this one, the next, well, however many left there are after this are all in standard tuning. Or at least this could be tuned down, but I don't remember. This is just the riff of it that I did from memory. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is riff from Wood. Now this one it's got one part that could be a little tricky for you possibly, but so what we're going to do here, first of all, we're going to take our first finger and bar across the D and the G string at the 4th fret. And then we're going to do a hammer onto the 6th fret with our 3rd finger. So this is kind of weird to count because this is a 16th note and then we hammer to this and it's an 8th note. And then it's tied to another 8th note. So it's got this kind of like hiccup, We do that twice. Now there at the end of it, you go back to 4 and 4, and then keep your first finger barred like that. Just take your middle finger and put it onto the 5th fret of the D string. So that's like the first 2 measures is, the first measure. And the second measure is just 4 more beats of just that little dyad, little major 3rd dyad. And then then the 3rd measure is the same as the first one. Now, on the 4th measure, it's got that same thing like the second one with that little dyad tied to it, but this time it's a dotted quarter note. So it's getting all of beat 1 plus the downbeat of 2. And then we've got another quarter note rest. So that puts us on the and of 3, or the downbeat of 3, and then we've got this. So we're ringing here like this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to use our middle finger and we're going to slide from the 4th fret to the 5th fret. But you want this to be like a slide from nowhere. You don't want, you just want it so you pick and slide simultaneous. So you slide from 4 to 5, and then your first finger goes to the 4th fret of the G string, and then your 3rd finger to the 5th fret of the B string. But you want it to ring out, so you got, and then it just repeats. Oops. Try that again. Oh my gosh. I did it. Yeah, so that's Wood. Another really cool song. But I personally, on their first two albums, there's not a bad one in the batch. All right. So, any questions on wood? All right, let's move along. So now we're on page 2 of your tabs, and yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, if you saw, I screwed up uh, when I did it. That's usually what the hardest thing is with a lot of riffs is when if they have some awkward thing at the end like that, getting back to where you have to start over again without any time to do it. But yeah, you'll get it. I have no worries. All right, and for those of you who maybe just joined, there are tabs available for these. There's a link in the description of the video. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is the riff from It Ain't Like That. Now, this one is easy to play, but it's really hard to play it and not sound terrible. I'm not real great at it. So what it is that on the yes, Crit, we're back into standard tuning. On the recording, there's like one guitar, and then while that's ringing, another one does the. But live, he just. Well, that's probably the best. I've never probably. That's the only time I've done it 3 times in a row ever, without it being terrible. So anyhow, it's pretty easy. You just take a regular old E major chord, but we're going to do an upstroke on it. You want to kind of really drag the pick just like that. Now you have that, and then the second part of it is the 3rd fret on the low E string, and we're going to bend that a full step and release like that. Now, if these notes are ringing out, it doesn't sound good, because it's all coming out of the same speaker and the same guitar and everything. So the trick here is that you need to mute the chord, but you don't want it to be like really abrupt like that. So you got to try to, and that's where I was talking about, where there's always a string ringing or whatever. It's not the end of the world, but it sounds better if you don't, if that doesn't happen. Yeah, that's a really cool song. So again, not very, very tough. I recommend that when you do that bend too, that you do it like that. So I'm using my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret, and then my 2nd finger's on the 2nd fret. My first finger down here, really just the 2. So that way you get enough leverage, and you're not having to really, you wouldn't want, have to change your whole hand position to do it with your 1st finger. So, Yeah, it's Jerry Cantrell writes really sick riffs, I think. Okay, so this next one here, I'm going to switch to a clean tone. So this next one to look at is Rooster, and this one's fairly simple to play. There's just 4 chords, but it's technically just one shape that we're going to be moving around. So if you know your major bar chord shape with the root note on the low E string, then you're golden. So if you don't, let's just go over that really quick. So if you just take the shape of the E major chord, but use, instead of your first, second, third, use your second, third, and fourth. So your first finger's free. And then anywhere you move that to, you just lay your first finger down behind it, and now it's a bar chord. So this first one here, it says that it's F sharp. Second fret here is F sharp. So I'm going to bar all the way across the second fret, and then my second finger is going to go onto the third fret of the G string, my third finger onto the fourth fret of the A string, and my fourth finger onto the fourth fret of the D string. Now, we're going to hit this on 1, 2, and 3. So what we've done here is this next chord, it says F sharp 11 over E. So it's like all this like big scary sounding name of a chord, but it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is just going to lift our finger up. So it's like in this E major shape. So now the low E string is open, but we're still on the fourth fret of the A and the D string and the third fret of the G string. So we hit that on the end of 2, and it's a whole or a quarter note. So it rings out for the downbeat of 3, and then on the end of 3, we hit it again. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, and then we hit it 4, E, and. Now, for the second measure where it says A, we're just going to take this shape and we're going to move it up a whole step. So now we're going to be barring across the 5th fret of all the strings. Third finger's on the 7th fret of the A string, fourth finger's on the 7th fret of the D string, second finger's on the 8th fret of the G string. And we're going to do the exact same thing, the same timing, the same strum, the same movement. So we'll go. So it's like pretty easy. It's actually, when I learned it, I was surprised because just from listening to it, I thought it would be a little bit more involved with it than there is. But it's really cool. I mean, I would have never have thought, to do that. But Cantrell is the shindizzle. So, all right. So, any questions on Rooster or anything for that matter? Oh, the rest of Rooster? All right. So the last one we're going to look at, and this one's a little longer. This is basically the whole song. This is an entire song. Okay, Crit, I think that could be arranged. So we're going to look at here is the song in nutshell. So this is like an acoustic guitar song, but I'd have to walk all the way over there and then tune it. It seems like a lot of work. So I'm just going to do it with a clean tone. So this isn't too terribly difficult. It's kind of cool because most of the chords they share a note. So you don't have to really change your hand position. You always have some kind of a finger that you can have anchored all the way through it. So the first chord we have is E minor 7. So for this particular voicing of E minor 7, you're going to want to use your first and second fingers to play E minor. So first finger on the second fret of the A string, second finger on the second fret of the D string. And then you're going to want to take your third finger and put it onto the third fret of the B string and your pinky onto the third fret of the high E string. And that's E minor 7, the voicing we're using for this. Now some people will play E minor 7 like that or like this, but it's easier if you use these fingers because these are going to be the ones that are kind of our anchor point for this. So we've got E minor 7, and then we've got a G. So all we have to do is just move our middle finger from the second fret of the A string, from the second fret of the D string to the third fret of the low E string. So then to a D. Now, our ring finger, third finger, is already where it needs to be. So transitioning to the D is easy. And then C add 9. So again, ring finger is going to stay where it is. We're going to move our first finger to the second fret of the second fret of the D string, second finger to the second fret or third fret of the A string. So it's like G, but just moved up one. In case you didn't know, C add 9. And if you've played stuff with C add 9 in it before, you already might be thinking, oh, well, when I did it, it doesn't matter. Both the G and E are both in the triad. So either way, but this is how they're doing it, is with the open string. So that on the first measure, that E minor 7 is a dotted quarter note. So it's going to ring out. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Perhaps a retina. Yeah, so it's a dotted quarter note. So this is like 1, 2, and 3, oh my gosh. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So it's kind of weird. You hang on the E minor 7 and the G for just a little bit longer than you do that D. So it's like ba da da da. It's like a quick kind of it's still a whole quarter note, but in comparison to the others, it's faster. So now when we strum that C add 9, it's on the downbeat of 1 of the second measure, and it's a half note, so it's going to get the first 2 beats. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, E, and. So that's the second measure. And then moving on to the third measure, we're still on this C add 9. 1 and 2, 3 and, or 1 and 2, 3 and 4, E and. So we're kind of just, staying there. If you're familiar with the song, you'll know what I'm, So it's like, now on that last measure, we start on the downbeat as a triplet. So it's 1 yellow 2 and 1 yellow 2 and now we're going to put our pinky down. So this is one case where if you've watched me do these before, I'll talk about the like, okay, on the tab, that if you just look up the top to see what chord it is, you don't really have to like, once you know the chord, you don't have to pay attention to the tab. On this song, you actually do. So if you look on at the end of that first line, you can see there that we're still on that C add 9. We got the triplet and then an eighth note, and then on another eighth note. If you notice that the open on that eighth note that is on the end of 2, if you notice that C add 9 chord, now our pinky has went down. So it's went from being the open string to the 3rd fret. And that's just, he just does that because he's got a little chord melody going. So you got, that's the hardest part right there for me, is going from, you quickly put your pinky down 1 strum and then right back to E minor 7. So when I make that transition back to E minor 7, I screw it up probably 90% of the time. So, and then that whole thing would just repeat. So that's like one part of the song. See right there. There we go. All right. So that's the first, well, it's the first 4 measures on the transcription for this, but that's basically the whole song. If you're familiar with the song, it doesn't have like a verse and a chorus. It just goes this music with little variations that I'm going to show you some of the little variation things you can do. And then he just more or less just recites a super depressing poem over the top of it. But this is like a really awesome song, one of my favorites by Alice in Chains. Love Lane too, and you can hear what he was going through in the lyrics. Okay, so if we look starting on the next staff, so on measure 6, it looks the same. You can see the first measure is the same as the first measure was, and the 7th measure is the same as the 2nd measure, sort of. All it is the timing. The timing changes just a little bit. So, like if you notice on the 2nd measure, you've got those C add 9s, the 2 16th notes at the end, but on this one, it's just 1 8th note. So instead of 2 strums, it's just 1, and then it's tied to the downbeat into the next measure. So for a lot of this, you can kind of just feel your way through it. But one thing that we've got to look at is let's see. It's been a while, so I gotta remember. Okay, now I remember. Oh, that's still coming in. What is the tuning for Sledge Factory? I don't know off the top of my head. The bass line on Nutshell is way, way dope. Yeah, it's a cool bass line because it really walks through. It outlines a lot of this stuff in the melody. It's really cool. So the thing on here, what's happening now? You'll see we have another chord, E minor 7 over C. So what it is that we're doing the C add 9, and then you just basically take your third finger off. So it's like a um, actually. That's weird. Okay, so that's not E minor 7 over C. That's C major 7. That's like a really bizarre typo, but okay. So what it is that we're doing that C add 9. So you got your third finger here on the third fret of the B string, right? So we're doing that, and we're gonna take it off. So this is another one I was talking about. You have to look at the tab. So if you look on the seventh measure, so the second measure on the second staff, you can see that on the B string we're on the third fret, and then all of a sudden on the end of 1, it's the string is open, and then on the downbeat of 2 it's open, the downbeat of 3, and then on the end of 4 our finger goes back on, and then it comes back off, and then it goes back on. So he's kind of got a little, that little melody in there. So that starting at measure 6. So again, there on that last one, the last measure, it's the C add 9, the triplet, and then you have to put your pinky down onto the third fret of the high E string. So it's just like the fourth measure. So mainly the big difference is you just kind of have to look for those where he's playing that little melody. So it's kind of a thing that you don't even really have to. You can just kind of throw that stuff in wherever you want to because it is so repetitive. So you can do that too. You can take your first finger off when you're doing the C add 9, and then hammer it back down. See it? Like that. So that is the last one. So wow, it all kind of worked out. Got everything done. Didn't go over. Didn't get everything done 20 minutes in. So I guess that's what I need to do is just always have like a buttload of material to go over. So does anybody have any questions about that or anything else for that matter? How's the solo go? The solo. Oh, for Nutshell. I didn't do the solo, but the solo for that's like also really cool. That it's like the only song on that album that I didn't get sick of. Some of those other ones they played them to death on the radio back in the day, but that song always is awesome. Thank you, Jersey. Yeah, secret. Now you know why we were working on those bar chords. Now you know it's all paid off, so you can play Rooster. I on Yeah, Rotten Apple and Stick. What was the one? What was the one on there that they just ran it into the ground? I can't remember. But yeah, the solo on Nutshell, I don't really remember it. Like, I mean, I don't think I ever even sat down and like learned it all. I know I did like towards the end of it. It's got the he does that little legato lick thing that I thought was cool. I learned a long time ago, but I don't really remember it. You know, it's funny though. You're saying that about a long song. There's songs that you know all the time. I think that they don't seem like they're that long, and then you check the running time, they're like 7 8 minutes long, and they don't seem like it. And other ones that are 3 minutes long that feel like they're 10 minutes long. Good night, Rick. Thanks for joining us, and you are most welcome. No excuses. Yeah, they they just ran that one into the ground. That one, I think they're capoed up on that one. But I liked the songs on Sap. That overall, that EP, I liked it more than Jar Flies. Junkhead, another great song. I pretty much facelift and dirt everything on those. Uh, Dirt is probably the most listened to album. It's probably a close race between that and Appetite for Destruction. If I find an album I really like, I'll obsess on it, and that's all I'll listen to. So yeah, Appetite for Destruction, Dirt, and the Black Halo from Camelot. All of those, I would just kiss alive too. Izzy Stradlin's in the house. Hello. I totally agree with you, Crit. Their unplugged was awesome, and Stone Temple Pilots was a close second for me. I have not watched that. I saw the thumbnail for it for Phil singing with it, but I haven't I haven't watched it. I have like a I'm pretty sensitive about Lane Staley and about his voice. That's why I was like the guy that that they got in Alice in Chains. Now he pulls it off really well. I think Havoc. Um, I haven't heard him in like so long that I remember that I thought that seems like I liked him and stuff. I've never had like any of their albums or anything, but uh, uh, I had a friend that was he was in a band here called in my state called Havoc, like in the '80s, And then he was the one who turned me on to him, showed him to me. But I don't really remember it too much. Yeah, I'd like to see more of Izzy too. When Izzy Stradlin left Guns N' Roses, they kind of, just my opinion. Mad Season. I haven't listened to him a whole lot. I didn't even know that was even a thing until I don't know, a few years ago. It was like right before COVID and stuff. I had a friend that told me about him, and then it's one of them. I'd forgotten about it, but I am gonna have to go check it out. I think I listened to like a song or two, but I can't remember. Man, the box is that's a cool song, but man, I got so sick of that riff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow in my travels. Mad Season. Are they on Spotify? Does anybody know if Mad Season's on Spotify? I know where I saw it was on YouTube. Well, I'll check and see if they're on there. Freedom. Yeah, I agree with you, Freedom. Although I like Nirvana more now than I did back then. I all I'd really heard is just the stuff, smells like Teen Spirit and stuff like that. And then some of my students have turned me on to uh, their older albums, and like there was a song called School, and it's like a super raw, simple song, but they had a cool vibe back then, I thought. And I like Grohl. I like the Foo. Oh, sick. Okay, so if Mad Season's on Spotify, then I will definitely listen to that tomorrow. Good night, Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Yeah, Bleach, and then the other one, Incesticide, and then I actually in utero had some stuff on it. I was starting to kind of get into that, and then that was the end. But yeah, it's kind of a trip that like the out of all of those singers from that whole grunge movement thing, the only guy there's only two of them that are still alive that I can think of, and that Eddie Vedder and the guy who sings for Candlebox. I can't recall his name, but uh, everybody else is gone. Main Mainskin? I have never heard of that. Am I saying that right? Sorry, I'm like blind, so it looks like it says Maine, M-A. Think so, Mainskin. Yeah, I've not heard of that. All right. Yeah, when the whole grunge thing happened, it was kind of. I heard Alice in Chains before that whole thing happened. When Alice in Chains did that, they were the opening band on the Clash of the Titans tour, and that was in 1989, and it was before that whole thing really blew up. Uh, so I'd already kind of heard them, and they're different. I think they're a cut above than the other bands from that era. Uh, and Stone Temple Pilots, I really like Stone Temple Pilots too. But yeah, by the time I saw like Smells Like Teen Spirit and a lot of that stuff, I was just like, man, what has happened to music? But I go back now and I like a lot more of it now than I did back then. Nirvana, especially being one of them. Yeah, I like Velvet Revolver too, but uh, those the guitar player and the bass player in Stone Temple Pilots, they're brothers, and they they write really cool shit. I think I really, really, really like Stone Temple Pilots. They're when um, when he died, it was like the only time that's ever been like a celebrity death, anything that like kind of really affected me because I was just really, really liked his voice and was just so into that. It was kind of a bummer, but you know, who didn't see that coming, right? All right. I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It was that was a lot of fun, and I always enjoy the the chatting part. Showing you how to play stuff's cool, but I like talking music with y'all. But I really appreciate you coming out tonight, and for those of you stuck around from the beginning, oh, thank you, appreciate that. The blue pig. I guess that I'm assuming that must be like this is a for a for like a bar or something, a club. Reason I said is there's a place around here called the Green Pig, so I'm just kind of assuming. You're welcome, Crit. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, Jersey. Appreciate it. And appreciate y'all that that tuned in. And I will see y'all next Tuesday, same time. No idea what we're going to do, but I'll figure it out between now and then. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks.